Thank you very much, and good morning, everybody. Thank you for the invitation to be here. It's always nice to be in Cyprus. And we know that the world is full of challenges, and some of them are really concentrated in Cyprus. I think I would like to say, also to respond to what was said in the beginning of the meeting, that we are also recognizing, we are hoping that the situation is on the direction for Cyprus of improvement, that the context that seems to have been established, the hopes about a unified Cyprus may be a reality that is within reach. And I also hope that the agreement that we made by the help of all forces on the 10th of January this year will be an agreement that can bring about even better and new results of a cooperation between the Cypriot members. Having said that, I want to give a few words about how I see some of the issues also for Cyprus concerning education in the future. First of all, I would say the point of departure is not very easy. We know that, all of us. And I don't want to dwell too long time with this, but we have been divided island since 1974, etc. And we know that this point of departure is really different. It's not the only place in the world where things has happened like in Cyprus. We have different parallels. And we know that it is incredibly difficult to overcome all these obstacles that remains from confrontations, etc. I just point to, for instance, Ireland. I can point to Belgium. I can point to today. Now we will see similar things happen in Ukraine. We will see it happen in Moldova. We will see it happen different, unfortunately, I would say, in different parts of the world. So the point of departure is not easy, we all know that. Then looking about the role of resources, what are the resources available for Cyprus when we speak in general? Well, we have to look at Cyprus as an island in the Mediterranean. There are not too many natural resources. However, there is, I hope that within some years, Cyprus may take the benefit of gas and oil in the sea and so on. But in any case, I think that is that far in the future, so it's too early to calculate actually the benefit of that. But it plays a role, and it will be something new. It will be something that could support a unified Cyprus very much. But apart from that, resources are scarce in Cyprus. Tourism play a role, of course, but I don't think everybody in Cyprus wants to see Cyprus turned into one big casino. So there are also other possibilities, and that is when you have a lack of, you could say, natural resources as such, you have to count on the human resources. Then you have to count on the resources that you have in the people. And when we're talking about the resources of the people, we're talking about education. So education is at the center of the resources that you have in Cyprus. Also, you are in a strategic position geographically, not only because of, I would say, military issues and so on, but also because you're able here to reach out to many different countries. And you already have a population that consists of many different nationalities. But of course the economy plays a role, and the strengthening of the economy for education in the future is a necessity. And we also have to incalculate the multicultural issues, not between only the, let's say, the issues between the Cypriots, between themselves, But there will and can be in the future many other nationalities also living in Cyprus. That not only goes for Cyprus, that also goes for other countries. But that's part of the game that will be in the future. And when I'm talking about the future, I'm not talking just next year. I'm talking 10 years, 15 years. And all good planning will have to be done on the basis looking ahead in the perspective of maybe 10, 15 years. If we look at the economic forecast, I have a table here saying that we are, of course, in a very modest growth perspective for Cyprus. These figures is for the Republic of Cyprus. I don't have figures for the occupied area, but if we look at it, there are huge challenges. We all know that because of the economic adjustment program for Cyprus. However, it doesn't seem that things are, let's say, impossible economically. Cyprus had also, before the crisis was here, in general, actually a sound economic situation in many ways. It was just not a situation with the banks, some of the investors, and so on. So these issues, of course, will have to be dealt with. But it doesn't look that bad. I mean, if we look at the public debt, we are around 100%. Yes, that's too much. But we are not talking about Greece and 184%. We're not talking about Japan with 200% and so on. We are at a level that is actually manageable. So I think that the situation is not that bad if we try to see the future for Cyprus. I know that for the current situation for many, they have felt huge cutback on education, which also we think is wrong. Salaries has been cut and many other issues that was mentioned by others. But if we look to the investment in the Republic of Cyprus, we have over the years actually had a reasonable high investment in education. And again, I don't have these figures also, but colleagues can jump in the debate. I don't have figures for the occupied area. But there has been over the years a tradition for Cyprus actually to invest quite a lot of money in education. You have been over the European average for many, many years, which I would say this is one of the point of departures, one of the positive things, that even though we, in the current situation, have a cutback and we have a, let's say, less priority on education, we would be able to find many places in Europe where investment in education would be at a very low point. So actually, this is a very good situation for the future, and we should try to make, let's say, strategic plans on how can we keep this investment and how can we then increase this investment at the same time as we are running out of the adjustment program for Cyprus. The economic report 2015 for Cyprus mentioned that there are still problems, especially with the big debt of the private sector. There is a slow, weak productivity and competitiveness. There is a very high level of non-performing loans in the banking sector, which is actually maybe some of the worst. And there is a need, they say, to step up structural reforms. We all know what structural reforms means. That means that the working people should pay for those that made all the mistakes in the casino economy. We all know that. However, there is an excessive deficit. The deadline for correction, that means the deadline in the agreement with the European Union about when should it turn into a positive figure, that is 2016, and it seems that that is a possible way to do. As I mentioned before, you have 100% public debt, the threshold is 60%, But don't worry, again, many countries, including Italy, France, etc., they are on 80 or 90%. So the 60% is not a figure that anybody should take really serious as such. Agnes may mention the European semester, which is a construction that regulates or influences the budgets, also the education budgets. But there is no recommendations in this for Cyprus, because this is all done in the relation to the memorandum of understanding between the financial institutions and Cyprus. But what we, of course, should be clear of is that whatever situation we are referring to, teacher unions should be extremely aware of their possibility to influence those money that are floating into the country from either the European Union or the European Investment Bank or from INEK. Agnes also referred to the situation about unemployment. You have a very high unemployment rate. However, we are around the 15–16%, at least in the official statistics. That is high, but again, it is lower than the average. When we look at the youth unemployment rate, it is worse. You are amongst the highest. You are not the highest, but you are amongst the highest. And this is all over Europe a huge problem. That is next generation. And if you look at what we call the NEET figure here, that is those of the generation between 15 and 24 in Cyprus, that is without education or employment at the moment where you make the statistics. We are at a rate of nearly 20%. And this is absolutely too much. 20% are not in education or are not working. That means they're actually doing nothing. And this is a huge challenge, because we know then what are young people then doing if they're doing nothing? Well, then they're making something we wouldn't be very happy about. Criminality, drugs, whatever, and social problems, and tensions, and families, etc., and so on. So this should have the highest attention. Also, we pool some numbers to get what we call the risk of poverty and social exclusion, which is also, of course, unacceptable high. Any figure here will be unacceptable, but this figure, nearly 30%, is absolutely all too high to be acceptable. And therefore, again, education needs to be one of the elements to create the way out of the crisis. Education is not just a parking place for young people during the crisis, because you can't park them that long in the crisis. In the beginning of the crisis, yes, but then after 3 years, then what? Okay, should I take another education then? Because now I finalized one education, the crisis is not over. Should I take another one, or what should I do? Here is the problem of combining maybe the different levels of education, VAT, higher education, with also apprenticeships, creating new jobs. And I would say, here is it, that we should look into the human capital and then say, what is it that we may be good at in the future? Is education one of the issues that could bring Cyprus at the top? Could we focus that much on education that education became a brand for Cyprus? Could we focus that much that education became something that people would come to Cyprus to gain? I will come back to this issue. If we look at how Cyprus is able to tackle the different targets that are set at the EU level, we can see that when it comes to the employment rate, that's the reverse number. We are having an unemployment. We are having not in unemployment but employment rate here in Cyprus, 2040 on 67. It's very close to the European numbers. The reduced poverty and social exclusion, we are around also a number that is close to the European level. Decrease early school leavers, we are again at a number that is around the European average, at least in the official statistics. Increased tertiary education attainment rate, we are here having a rate that is over the European average, so you're doing good. And when we look at resources for research and development, you do not have any figures for 2014, and it seems very low because of the crisis, I guess, in 2013, but then it appears at around 2% in 2000. Then it appears with a NA, and that means we don't know for 2014. And the European average was 2.2%. So there's still a lot to catch up on tertiary education in Cyprus. That may be one of the important issues that you should note when it comes to the resources. We have a new program in the European Commission called the Juncker Plan. That is a strategic plan for a huge investment to spark growth and combating unemployment over the next 3 years. A huge plan with 315 billion euros that are available for different issues. Education is also one of the issues that I mentioned here, the 315 billion. But you have to be aware that this plan is mostly targeted at private providers and institutions and infrastructure. That means that it is not education programs as such, where we are talking about curricula, etc., and so on. But these are most projects that are meant to, let's say, in the area of education, maybe to make a huge refurbishment of schools, to make other kinds of practical infrastructures, etc. But there are also ways to use money for education as such. The European Social Fund, and Cyprus is using quite a lot of money here over 4 or 5 years, 163 million that is used from the EU budget. And these are money that I don't know to what degree trade unions are involved in discussing on the use of these money, but absolutely it is something that trade unions should be involved in. For the moment, there is a focus on the improvement on vocational and technical education system. That is 20% of that amount. There is also a so-called national action plan for Cyprus using the social funds. And the national action plan covers an amount of 47.2 million that are coming mostly from the social fund, but also from the so-called Youth Employment Initiative with 11.6 million. These are money that are currently available for Cyprus, and I don't know also here on how unions are being discussing this with the government, but this is one of the issues that are very important. And then, of course, when we are talking about these investment issues, you also, as unions from both the occupied area and from the Republic, will have to discuss on how are we able to develop a coherent, balanced system in the future, where it is not maybe only the only part, the only side that is developing something and the other side is not, and who has access to the different financial means in this case. Because if there is not a balance in your development possibilities, it will be very difficult in the future maybe to keep an agreement, because all Cyprus, of course, has a need of developed quality education. Not only one part of Cyprus, all parts of Cyprus will have the need to do that. So that requires, I would say, some courageous thinking of trade unions on how are you able to provide that for the whole island, and not only maybe one part of the island. Let me, in the end of this, say to you that I think that the most important thing is to strengthen the investment in education. And as I said, not without the trade unions. And you have to discuss in a possible unified Cyprus, how are you able to create a balanced development for all parts of Cyprus? And maybe also discuss this, how are we able to do that on the road to a unified Cyprus. Secondly, as I refer to education as one of the maybe most important human resources that you have in Cyprus, you could sit down and discuss. We do not have the lowest investment in Europe. We actually have a reasonable investment in many ways in education. Are we able to keep this investment, increase it, and then also are we able to, let's say, make an excellent public education in Cyprus? Would it be a target? Would it be a possibility for you to say, we can do something here in this island they can't do in many other countries, because we are a small country, we do not have so many other resources, but we are good at education. And we will concentrate on education, and we will make an excellent public education system in Cyprus. A world-class system that is able to show and compete with other education systems. Would that be one of the possibilities that would be there for Cyprus? I'm just asking. If that could be the case, then of course this would be an issue in the plans for a unified Cyprus. Because how should that be established? There needs to be an implementation plan. And we don't know the plans for a unified Cyprus. We don't know if there will still exist, I would say, two completely different education systems, or there will be a, let's say, partly integrated education system, and if there will be, for instance, also an obligation for the education system to educate each other in each other's languages at a certain level, or whatever. So the question is, how can education then, in a strategic planning, contribute to the unified Cyprus? And that's the good question, that's the conference question there, and on how can we do that? And my small part of this is that I think you have a chance of concentrating on education as one of the very big resources in Cyprus for the future, making education something that is attractive. And then also I would mention, when I have said here on my slide, possible cooperation with the private sector, that means that I don't want to, well, we are not happy about private education, but I don't want to make the world black and white. And we know private education is there. And we know that private education will always be there. But the only way that we can secure that private education is not taking over everything is to have a quality public education. So back to square one. Are we ready then to say, Cyprus goes for an excellent public education system? That's what we want. That's what we want to make a plan. And that means that then we can keep maybe private institutions at a level where it's reasonable and where we can compete. That is okay. But then We would also, as unions, because then we are strong, then we will go to the private institutions and then we will ask them to sign collective agreements. Also the private institutions. So unions also organize those that are in private institutions. And they care that we sign not only for public sector, but we sign also for private institutions. That makes the unions powerful. That's the political game also for some not acceptable, for others just a practical issue. For me, it is the only way forward. If we do not realize as unions that we are the ones that are sitting on the possibility to organize all kinds of teachers from wherever and whatever institution they are coming, we are not, let's say, prepared to defend the education in a broader basis, and we should do that. So focus on the public sector, on the quality of the public sector, then also opening up to the world. That was what I mentioned before. Cyprus already have education that invites from other countries in the whole world. That would be far more easy if unions were in the whole construction of this, if the quality of the education here was very high, world-class system, and you were able to connect to other parts in the whole area of Europe, Middle East, North Africa, etc., where I think you have a strategic position that you could gain from in education. If, again, then, all this could happen with a focus on education, and you could establish such a, I would say, political, economical plan for creating this, it could be a model for others, if you were able to do that. If you were able to, let's say, solve not only the problems between the two communities, in getting together, establishing a system of education for Cyprus, in a balance for all, and also all other nationalities that will be here, then I think you would be able then to have, I would say, not an export model, but to be able to do something that so far has been very difficult for any of them to do, which we need. We need experience in that. We need courageous people to go into that. We need trade unions to take upon responsibility and really try to solve problems. We have too many places with division in Europe for the moment, and they're coming more. So we need Cyprus then now also to say, we can do it. Education can take upon a big responsibility. So I hope that this could lead to some kind of discussion amongst you, or if you want with me, then it's fine as well. Thank you very much.